What is going on, everyone? Jason the Train Freak here, and today I have a mail call, but it's not a normal mail call. I got a package in from Logic Rail Technologies. So in this box, it is something I'm excited to use. I don't know many people out there that it's using this product within our community, especially, but this has to do with LCC stuff. So let's see what I got, and we'll look at showing it off, demoing it, and installing it, and get it on the layout and see what it actually looks like. So stay tuned. Alright, so I had this package sent to me, and let's go ahead and open it up. I'm just going to use my X-Acto. I'm going to cut the tape off and see what I ordered from Logic Rail. Alright. First thing I got in is the light EFX-16. So for those who don't know, this is a 16 just plug compatible LCC lighting effects controller. So you have 8 on the top, 8 on the bottom. This is for your LCC CAN bus, and we'll get more into detail on that here in a little bit. The other thing I got is the LCC fast clock. So this is going to be something that I am going to mount over in dispatcher's area and take a look and see what it does. And that's all I got in the box. So let's go over each item individually. Okay, so we're going to start off with the more simplistic, or I feel like it's going to be the most simplistic piece, and that is the LCC fast clock. So let's go ahead and open it up, see what's inside. Alright, so it comes with a user's guide. It comes with a network cable, which is used for the LCC CAN bus. And then here is the actual fast clock. So it's got 4 holes on the front for mounting. So what I'll have to do is take the measurement of the back of the card to see exactly, what area I need to cut out so this will fit on my fascia. Now, Logic Rail does have a larger LCC clock that you can buy that actually mounts on the wall, but I wanted something for the fascia. So this is it here. Alright, going into the documentation, it kind of tells us the quick start guide, power requirements, choosing the fast rate, power methods, current time, local configurations. I mean, there's different settings and stuff that we can apply in here, and this will have to be something that I'm going to have to sit down and try to figure out. And once I get it figured out, then I will be able to share with you on everything that I did. But it looks like we will end up controlling this within JMRI. User guide is roughly a little more than 20 pages. So that's not too terrible. So I'm pretty sure that will come in handy. So let me go ahead. I'm going to get measurements of the back of this, so that way we can look at cutting a section of the fascia out, so that way we can get it mounted in and looking nice. Okay, so I'm over here in staging, and this is the upper staging level here. So we've got the dispatcher screen right here. This is going to be for any other type of information on that screen there. And so this is where I want that fast clock to go. And basically look just like that. So what I ended up doing is I took a tape measure, and this card here is 5 inches in length and 2 3, a little shy of 5 inches and a little shy of 2 3/4. So I went ahead and measured it. Basically used a speed square and a tape measure to confirm. And then of course I went ahead and marked it out with a number 2 pencil. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pop holes. And I have checked behind it. There is nothing. I've got a stud or a brace right here. So I should be fine. But I'm going to go ahead and drill small holes in each of the 4 corners. And then I'm going to go and grab my multi-tool. And we're going to get that hole cut out. Alright, so I'll be right back. Alright, so now we have a hole. I'm going to take this fast clock. I'm going to set in there exactly where I want it. And I will tell you that the 2 3/4 inch is actually a little too big, so you might go with 2 5/8. But I'm going to take my drill, and what I want to do is I want to put in pilot holes where these screws are going to go to hold the clock in place. And so I'm just going to go in with a small enough bit, and we're just going to put in some pilot holes. Alright, just like that. And then what I want to do is I've got these number 4 screws that we're going to put in there. And I don't like to use electric screwdrivers or battery screwdrivers for this, because if you're not careful you can damage it by over tightening. It's better to do it by hand. I'm just going to go ahead and get them all started in there. Well, there it goes. So they recommend number 4-40 screws. These are the same screws that I use for the Woodland Scenic Just Plug compression clip. Things that they sell. And these are 5/8 of an inch of number 4 wood screws. And then now our fast clock is mounted in. So all I have to do now is run a wire from the closest node, which is going to be right here, to the fast clock, and I will move the USB thing over here by it and get it plugged in, and then we can start playing with JMRI. Alright, so now I got her hooked in. I went ahead and turned the layout on so the LCC equipment would turn on, and lo and behold, the fast clock is up and running. It's been running for, I don't know, quite a few minutes now, because I just wanted to kind of make sure that it's working, but I have not done any programming on it as of yet. And there you see the time has changed to 00:34. So this will get to be something that I'll have to really play around with, try to figure out. And then once I do, I will walk you through on how I got everything set up. Alright, now we're going to play with the Light EFX-16. So this is a DCC or LCC programmable lighting effects controller with 16 just plug compatible outputs. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what we got in. Alright, so first things first, we have just a standard Cat 5, Cat 6 network cable. This one actually says it is Cat 5e. So it says it right here. But you can use Cat 6 as well, doesn't really matter. It gives us like a power adapter here and another plug with the cable. And then of course the card in itself. Move the packaging out of the way. And a fairly thick user's guide. So, and I mean fairly thick, so I'm sure this has all of the instructions on how to use it all in here. Just to kind of go off of the card itself, these are the LCC controllers here. If you're using DCC power, that's where the little adapter plugs into the power port there. On the LCC, we'll plug one of these into one node and daisy chain it to the next node on that one. The white connectors here, this is what's going to allow us to plug in the just plug lighting connectors, and I get 16 of those. There is a separate input board that you can buy that you can hook momentary push buttons to, and that will connect right here. And then this right here, it says master on off. I'm not really sure what that is. I know Detlef from the LCC channel did kind of an unboxing video on this card here, so I'm going to link that up in the upper right corner if you want a little bit more specifics of the card itself. But what I want to go ahead and do is get this thing mounted. Unfortunately, it's too tall to mount on the bracing underneath, and I'm using 1x4s. This is about 3.5 inches. So it will fit on a 1x4 great, but I'm not going to have any access to these plugs up here. So that's going to be a no-go. So what I'm going to have to do is mount this upside down to the bottom of the plywood. For those using foam for your bench work, I don't know what to tell you. So that's one of the reasons why I use plywood, in case if I do need to mount something up underneath, I had that availability. But anyways, so let me go ahead and get this mounted, and then we'll reposition the camera and we'll go ahead and start plugging some items in, getting it connected to the LCC system, and start doing some programming and try to figure some stuff out. Alright, so now we got it mounted. I got it plugged in between these two nodes over here, only because I ran that one white wire up under the BOD8 into that node, and I didn't want to pull it out and have it hanging. So it doesn't matter how you run it, it can all be daisy chained and it's all fine. Alright, so with that being said, the way I mounted it up there is I use these things from Circuitron. They're card holders, and so actually it's a perfect fit for those. So I just used 2 of them and screwed up 2 of them individually and put the card in between them, so that way they would not cover the 16 just plug outputs. But this does allow me, as I run, I'm going to drill a hole in here, and as I run wires over, I'll have some clips holding them up to the plywood there, but anything on this side will actually be able to run behind it. So you can see there's a big gap there. So now, that's what we're fixing to do. We're fixing to start tracing out where all these different lights are and start wiring this bad boy up. Alright, so now we've got it powered up. You can see the LED lights there. You can see the lights on my Bob 8. But I've also went ahead and plugged in 4 lights. And these are the 4 lights that go to the sawmill. So I've got 4 more lights for the community barn that will go on 5 through 8, but that'll be later. We're just doing this for testing purposes now. Alright, you can see the boiler house light is on. The outside lights is on. Shade up in here, you can see the planer's light is on. And if I slowly pan around, you can see that the night watcher coming into the sawmill is also on. So now we've got it powered up. We know it's working. Now we're going to head over to the computer and we're going to start doing all this programming. And this is going to be the fun part. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little, but either way it goes, we want lights to do certain things, so we got to program them up. So let's get over there. Alrighty, so I've got Panel Pro open, and I'm going to go ahead and put out a small, quick little disclaimer. If you hear any clanking noises in the background, I've got the layout on, and you're hearing some of the locomotives. Fireman Fred is very busy. So that's an accessory on the Tsunami 2 decoders. So I've got several locomotives around me, even though the prime movers are not idling. Fireman Fred will eventually do some clinking and clonking as the locomotives are just sitting there. Alright, let's get back onto the LCC. Alright, so I've got Panel Pro open here. We're going to want to go to LCC. If you don't have this, I highly recommend go check out the LCC channel. I want to say that in one of his earlier videos, he actually explains how to get LCC to show up. So, highly recommend go check them out. But we want to go to Configure Nodes. And this is what our node window looks like. So I'm just going to kind of have this over here. So we got a list of all the nodes. And we're going to go ahead and go over both the fast clock and the EFX-16. The fast clock's pretty quick, so we'll go over it first. So we're just going to hit the plus in front of it, and we want to open configuration dialog. And this is what it looks like, so we'll go ahead and full screen it. Identification just kind of gives us information, who the manufacturer is, the model number, yada yada yada. Segment. So this is the node's name. And this is actually what came on the node, so I really like that it says LCC Fast Clock. But in the user description, it said something else, and I actually changed that to dispatch, because that's where this fast clock is located within the layout. It's in, it's on the fascia at dispatch. If I wanted to add another LCC Fast Clock, maybe one of the bigger ones in the future, and mount it somewhere where my operators could see it, around the train room, then I can name it LCC Fast Clock, but have a different description stating where it's located. Alright, current date and time. So I went ahead and added all this stuff in here because I wanted to kind of play around and test with it. So if you want to go ahead and set your date, your time, the clock rate, just to see it in real time, that's where this segment here, current time, date, and clock state refresher set is. So if I was to go in here and change any of these settings, like I need to add an 8 there, for example, it's going to go ahead and make that change to the clock in real time. And you're going to be able to see that change. As far as persistent settings go, this will put it if it's either in a 12-hour or 24-hour format. You can only have one master. So if I add any other clocks, I would want those as slaves. The tick :flashing rate, if you want it, you can have it. I don't care for it, so I'm just going to leave it disabled. Initial time settings here. Let's go ahead and minimize this section there. Okay. Initial time settings. So this would be like whenever you turn the LCC system on, what time, what date do you want it to start at? For me, let me make sure I don't have an extra space there. I don't. So it wants it in month, day, 4 years. I don't know why the 8 was missing. But for me, I want it in a running state, initial time, hour, minute format. I want my clock to start at 2:45 a.m. And the reason being is because my times table that I'm running my operations off of, the first train comes into the layout at 3 o'clock in the morning. As far as the first train that leaves the yard, it's a little bit later. It's like 4 something. So this gives the hostler plenty of time and the yardmaster plenty of time to be working on what they need to work on before the first manifest comes into the yard or the first manifest leaves the yard. So 2:45. If I needed to, I can back this up and say start it maybe at 2:30. But that means the first mainline freight person or the passenger train, I can't remember off the top of my head which one's coming in first. That just means they're going to have to wait a little bit longer before they can start and leave staging. Alright, this right here, initial clock rate and resolution. And you can put it in 0.25 increments. I put mine at 5. So basically every 10 seconds of real time, a minute changes on my clock. If it's going, if I need to back it down, I can back it down to say 2.5. And that means every 20 seconds will be a minute, roughly. So the higher the number, the faster the minutes are going to click. The lower the number, the longer it's going to take for those minutes to click. Brightness, you can, the display brightness will determine, I've got mine set on low. If I wanted automatic, then I can have it go high at a certain time, go low at another time. And then as far as the clock IDs go, this is a really, really neat feature. So we'll pop this up a little bit. But these clock IDs here, we can put, you can have 6 different time sets. Okay? And just pick whichever one you want. And it's a 48 unique ID, right? So you can copy this ID right here. But the 0 or these last 3 numbers here represent hours, minutes, seconds. And you can add those to a lighting feature in the EFX-16, which we'll get to in a minute. That will turn that feature on, and then a certain time for it to turn off. So for example, if I wanted my night watcher to come on at 6:30 p.m. or 18:30, I could put in 18:30 and copy it, and then go in there and put it as, you know, an action, a consumer's action. And that will make it to where at 6:30, when the clock hits 6:30 p.m., that light comes on. And then there's also another one that I can say I want it to go off at 6:30 in the morning. And I could change that 18 to 06. Whoops. Yeah, if I can get my mouse in the right spot. So 06, right? And then copy that. I could do the same thing. So this is a pretty cool little feature that I'm going to play with, and we're going to see if we can get this to work right. Alright, so that's pretty much all that you have to do as far as the configuring the LCC fast clock. So I'm going to slide that out of the way. But let's open up the EFX-16. So this I have not played with. There it goes. Identification, same thing. Device settings. Alright, so it comes up LCC Light EFX-16. That is fine. But I am going to change this and do Wiener North. Because I'm pretty sure between the sawmill and the community barn and maybe the rice or the grain elevator, it's probably going to use up all 16 of these functions. Just between the boiler house, the planer, the the night watcher for the entrance, and the community barn uses up half of it. That's 8 lighting functions right there. So I'm going to go ahead and just say Wiener North on this one. We're going to go ahead and write it. Let's minimize that back down. Now let's look at our first lights. So the first light, and I have a spreadsheet that I'm going to have to open up. Here we go. So light 1, I'm calling the boiler outside. So this is the outside light on the boiler. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and write that on. Alright, so upon receiving this event, the light will be activated, turned on using the configured effect. So that is where we go back to the other node. So let's see here. We want to do custom self, so we're going to write that. Clock ID, alright. And let me pull this over here so you can see what I'm doing. Let's do half and half. How about that? Half and half might be a little easier to see, right? Maybe. We'll see. Okay, so command on. So what I want to do is, this is the time I want the light to turn on. Let's say the boiler we want to turn on at 7 o'clock p.m. Whoops. 7, 0. Let's copy that. And we're going to paste it. Alright. And write it. Alright. So you can see it says LCC Fast Clock Persistent Settings Custom ID Event Base. Okay. Command off. Well, if I was going to do 17 p.m., that is actually going to be 19 for 7 p.m. So let's write that. Okay. Now we're going to paste that for 7 a.m. and write that. So at 7 a.m. the light goes off. 7 p.m. the light comes on. Or we could do this and say at 6 a.m. the light goes off. Alright. Here's my brightness level. Right now I'm going to leave my brightness at 100. Effect. Ooh, let's we got different things we could do here. Oh wow, there's a lot of different options. Man, there's a lot of different options. Yes, you could do traffic lights with this too. That's pretty neat. So I think I'm gonna do. We'll see what happens with like a fluorescent tube bad 1. I want this light to look horrible. So let me look and see what it's looking like. Oh, that is perfect. All right. Grouping, you can group certain functions together. You can follow the previous, but I don't want to do this. I want this as a standalone light. Alright. Now, I'm assuming as far as DCC goes, if I was using this for DCC and not LCC, I'm assuming this is where I would mess with that. So I'm not going to mess with DCC address. Other than that, I really don't know if there's anything else I should be doing with this. Okay, this is all DCC configuration. Clock ID. I'm not going to mess with any of this stuff here. So we're just going to leave all that alone. Global settings, we're not going to mess with. But as far as commands and stuff, I really don't think I need to mess with anything here. This would be if I wanted like push buttons to turn on, turn off things, I would assume. But I haven't read through the full manual either. But we're just going to kind of wing it, see what happens. Alright, segment measurements. So let's scroll back up. Let's close this segment out. Let's open measurements. Input voltage supplied to the LEDs in millivolts. And this just shows the temperature. So you can see we're getting like 13.145 volts. And as far as our temperature, 31 degrees Celsius, so that's not terrible. Okay, so that's all that measurements is. Alright, let's go ahead and configure our second light. Our second light is going to be the planar, and it's going to be the outside lights. And what I want to do is basically the same thing. I want to copy this command, and we're going to paste it there. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to copy that one. So I'm going back to the Buller light and paste it there. So that way all the outdoor lights come on at the same time, right? Effect on this one, I want this one as just none, steady on. Or if I need to, I can go to fluorescent tube good. And we can write that. And let's go ahead and save all our changes on that there. And I don't think I really need to mess with anything else. So we're just going to leave the rest of this alone. So this might be really quick on setting up. Alright, light 3. This is going to be the planar inside. Right. Definitely write that. And we definitely want this one as a fluorescent tube good. So we're going to write that as well. And right now I'm leaving all these brightnesses at 100 until I get the layout off. Then we can look at and see if I need to make a change. Alright, number 4 is going to be the Sawmills night watcher. Alright, we're going to write that. If I add any more night watchers, I can just easily plug them into the same, unless I want a different night watcher to do something different. Alright, so we got that written. We'll leave it on steady on. That'll be fine. And I want, like I said, we want this one to be at a different time. So this one we want to come on. Let's go ahead and do this and take that off and do 6. We're going to copy and we're going to paste it down here. So this is when it would go off. 6:30 in the morning. Right. And then we want this to come on at 18:30 at night. And we'll paste that there. Alright. And right. Okay. So hopefully this does everything we need it to do. And you know, worst comes, push comes to shove, what I might have to do is adjust these brightnesses off camera, so that way I can use my camera to see how well the lights look in the video feed. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that from here, and we will go ahead and see how it works with the fast clock. And what I can do is fast forward time over here and see if it works the way we want it to work. Oh, and the planar, I forgot. We got to add a time for the planar. We're going to do 5 o'clock. So I'm just going to paste both of these times and we can just edit it. So I want it to go off at, let's do 9 o'clock in the morning. And let's see, we want it to come on at 5 o'clock in the evening, so that'd be 1700. And and save changes. Okay, now we'll look and see if this actually works. So we'll be right back. Okay, on that last segment, I was totally wrong on one part of it. And so this time I'm going to film it from the phone and not directly from the computer, so that way you can see what I'm talking about. So this was the ID here, right? Well, actually, in the book, it's not showing the last two numbers, or the last two set of numbers, like over here. And then also, your node is going to have a different number than that right there. It's going to be linked exactly to the node. So don't copy that whole number. But the last two groups of numbers is actually the hours and the minutes. There's no seconds. So I told you hours, minutes, seconds. It's hours and minutes. But to get the right number in there, you have to use this conversion chart here for the hours, and this conversion chart here for the minutes. Because 20 minutes in hexadecimal is actually 14. I know that's confusing, right? So that's because you have 6 letters in there as well, A through F. So 16 is 10. So I went ahead and adjusted and put the correct numbers in for the time that I want. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to refresh this clock. I've actually tested it. So the night watcher is designed to go off at 6 a.m. What I want to do is do 05 55. All right, I'm going to go ahead and write it. So when I hit write, you'll see that my clock changes. Okay, so it changed. And like I said earlier, roughly every 10 seconds, a lighting effect changes by a minute. All right, so you can see I got the Buller light looking like it's a bad bulb, right? But as soon as 6 o'clock hits, right now we're at 5:56, now 5:57. This night watcher right there is going to go off on its own. Now I'm just going to stand here. Now we're at 5:58. And that way you can see it. I wish I could have both the night watcher and the LCC clock at the same time. But at 5:59, so we're at 5:59. Ignore the lights, but it's 5:59, and it's fixing to change, and it just changed as I was moving the camera back. So you can see that light went off, and now we're already and see we're at 6 o'clock. So that is one of the cool things that you can do with LCC with using a fast clock, is make it to where certain lighting features come on and go off at certain times, but also make it to where certain lights do certain different things. You know, one of the things that I want to do over in the downtown section of Wiener is add traffic lights. You know, working traffic lights, and I'll be able to do that with this. It's going to use 6 different lighting functions, but I mean, you got to admit it's something pretty cool that I can do it, and I can set the times of how I want each one to go. Hey guys, if you really like this video and you find it useful, do what Train Freak Jr. says. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, and that you hit the subscribe button, and make sure you fill in the bell so that way you will be notified on all future videos as they come out. My videos could cover anything such as DCC installs, which I plan on doing Blue Nami here pretty soon, working on scenery, trying to finish up the Cascade Lumber and Milling Company, you know, LCC, just like the video you just saw. So make sure you hit that thumbs up, show your support, and we greatly appreciate it. And if you want to see some more stuff, kind of behind the scenes footage and get a few extra videos here and there, check out my channel memberships. It might be something to your benefit. So, and I will be giving surprises away to those who have been members for at least 6 months. I've already given one away. I'm fixing to start working on the second one. So, other than that, y'all be safe out there. I hope y'all have a great week. Happy railroading.